Hello and welcome to Co-op Conversations. Hi, everybody. I'm Nan McNamara. I'm the Artistic Chair of Actors Co-op, and I have been a member of Actors Co-op since 1997. Wow, long time ago. I'm coming to you from the ancestral land of the Chumash, Tongva, and Quiche people. And we are so excited tonight to share with you our second co-op conversation live on YouTube and on Facebook. We can't wait to see you all live and in person in the theater again. And we are hoping to share the details of when that will happen in September. So please stay tuned. Tonight, we are extremely excited to talk with Broadway veteran, award-winning actor and director, Thomas James O'Leary. Some of us call him Tom. Now, Tom won the LA Weekly Award for Best Supporting Performance. He also has won the Ovation Award for Best Director for a play called, what was it called again? Oh, that's right, 33 Variations at Actors Co-op. Wow. Tom is also a faculty member, full-time faculty member at AMDA, which stands for the American Musical and Dramatic Academy right in Hollywood. Now, we're going to talk to Tom about Les Mis. We're going to talk to Tom about Miss Saigon. We're going to talk to Tom about The Phantom of, yes, you guessed it, the opera, and everything in between. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Thomas James O'Leary.
Hi.
How are you?
It is so formal. My name is so formal, isn't it?
Well, you know, when I first met you, I thought, oh, Thomas James O'Leary, that sounds serious. And then quickly I knew that
it's that actors equity thing. You know, there was already a Tom O'Leary. So
there was. Of course there
was.
Yeah. All right. Well, there was a Nancy Johnson, which was my real name.
Oh.
And so I took my mom's maiden name.
All right.
So that's McNamara. Yeah.
Well,
so there you go.
Yeah.
So we have so much to talk about that I think we should just dive right in.
All right, let's dive in.
We don't have a lot of time. So I always like to give a nod to Scott Feinberg, who has a wonderful podcast called Awards Chatter for the Hollywood Reporter. And his first question to his guests is always, where were you born and what did your parents do for a living?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I was born in Hartford, Connecticut, and grew up in Windsor Locks, Connecticut, a suburb of Hartford, small town. My dad was an accountant and worked as an accountant for different companies at different times, and also had his own income tax business. So we were very busy at our home. When I was a kid, I used to answer the door and bring people down to his office. And so we were very busy. He was busy from January to April.
Did you ever hear people crying down there after getting the bad news of owing a lot of money?
No. I missed all that. I missed that.
Okay.
And I mean, my mom was a homemaker, but worked a lot, while she was raising us while we were growing up, my sisters and I. And usually in food service, in restaurants, her dad was in the food service. Her whole family was when she grew up, and that's what she continued to do. And after my dad died, she owned her own little restaurant for a while. It was kind of cool.
Wow. What was her specialty?
Italian. I mean, she's even though my last name is clearly Irish, I'm only a quarter Irish. She's all Italian.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I have to ask you, do you know how to do your own taxes and do you know how to make lasagna?
I do both. Yeah. I've done my own taxes my whole adult life with a little help from TurboTax. And
okay.
And a lasagna is like basically the only thing I know how to make.
Okay.
But I make a mean lasagna. It's good. It's really good.
You know, that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So growing up in Connecticut, when we were chatting in preparation for tonight, you didn't really know that you could sing or act. You kind of found out accidentally. Can you
I
talk
mean, I
about
had
that?
no interest at all in high school. And then I found out kind of accidentally, that I could sing. I was involved with this club called American Field Service. It was like the foreign exchange student program, and it was the first year the club existed in our high school. And we did a fundraiser. We did a variety show for a fundraiser, and as is often the case in a high school or on Broadway, they needed more male voices. So I kind of got roped into like joining in and singing, and found out I had a good singing voice. And then they kind of just gave me a lot more stuff to do. And then after that, I got more interested and joined a folk pop group in my senior year in
Ooh.
high school, and then I started acting just a little bit in high school, but enough that it piqued my interest. So then when I went to University of Connecticut, where I went right after high school, um, I took an acting class just my freshman year. I didn't declare a major yet, and I was like, let's check it out, see how it goes, and it went well enough that I was like, I think I like this. So I declared a major in acting, a BFA in acting. Yeah.
But not a lot of musicals in college, right? Which is kind of interesting considering where you ended up.
Well, I went back and forth. I went back and forth. So at UConn, I actually did do a lot of musicals.
Okay.
All my classes were acting classes, but yeah, that's the voice got me cast in shows. So I went from one musical to another, and then I did some summer stock in between. And it was after that that I kind of like, I'm done with musicals,
I'm a serious actor,
I'm
ladies and
serious.
gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a Gemini, so I can never make up my mind. Still to this day.
So after the University of Connecticut, you decided to take a little more training and you
Right.
went to Trinity Rep.
Yeah,
Is that
Trinity
right?
Rep Conservatory in Providence, Rhode Island, and that was an awesome program. I felt like, and I mean, I know that the dramatic arts program at UConn is much stronger now, but when I was there, I had some great teachers, but I think some of it was like I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to take it seriously, maybe.
Yeah.
And and it wasn't until my senior year of college that I was like, I think I really, really want to do this acting thing, but I felt like I hadn't learned enough. And so, yeah, I went to Trinity Rep Conservatory, which was awesome. It was everything I wanted at that time. Had great teachers. Suzanne Shepard was an amazing acting teacher who I'm still in touch with today. She just sent me a Facebook message.
Aw.
And Larry Eric was like a brilliant man who was the artistic director of the conservatory. And we were attached to Trinity Square Repertory Company. This is all in Providence, Rhode Island. And it was a great theater program. The regional theater, Trinity Square, was the first regional theater to get a regional theater Tony Award.
Oh,
Adrian
wow.
Hall was the artistic director.
Wow.
Um,
And
and
there was one particular actor that was there at the time
oh
that
yeah,
you were there that was pretty influential for you. Can you talk about that?
yeah, I would love to. Richard Jenkins. He's
Richard
been
Hall.
nominated for an Oscar.
There
Oh
he
my
is.
God, I love that you have that picture of him.
He's a
Hi,
handsome
Richard.
guy.
Oh God, I learned so much just watching him. He played a lot of the lead roles during my 3 years in Providence, and I watched everything he did. But I remember he was playing Biff in Death of a Salesman,
Mm.
and there was a little door, like I don't know, like about 4 feet high, that went from one of our studios into the balcony area of the theater. There,
Mhm.
we were in the same
Mhm.
building, and I always sneak in and sit in the back row for the last 45 minutes of Death of a Salesman for the whole like 6 weeks,
Wow.
just to watch him, just to watch and learn. And we used to go up to him like, we were like little puppy dogs, like, "What's the secret to acting?" And 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 he would tell us, and I tell my students now, he would say, "Listening." I was like, "Oh, listening? Yeah, listening." I was like, "Oh." And now I get it, I was like,
Yes.
"Really? That's all you have to do?" But it's actually really it's not that easiest thing to listen
No,
on
it's not.
stage or on
It's
camera
not.
or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
thing you have to kinda learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great
But he was a
experience.
great example, yeah.
Yeah. So I know there was a little bit of time in between, but eventually you made the big move, right? You made the big move to New York. What was that about? What did you have with you when you made the move? Where did you end up?
I had $200 in my wallet when I moved to New York City.
Yikes.
There's no such thing really. I mean, it's like my students will ask me like, when should I move to New York City? And there's all these kind of rules about like, you should have an agent. I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything. I was just like, I just knew it was time.
Yeah.
I had been putting it off actually for a while. A lot of my friends had already gone. I was one of the last of this group of friends to go. And finally I was like, okay, enough is enough. I'm ready. So I went to New York. That was in 1981. Yeah, and I struggled for a while. I mean, New York I found it challenging at first. I had to get a day
What was
job.
your worst day job that you had?
It was probably the first one I got, and I was I was just like doing clerical work in an advertising agency. It was just like it was a 9 to 5. And it was hard, when you're working 40 hours a week. It's something
Yeah.
that's soul crushing to
Yes.
like,
Yes.
you know, then audition. And I was auditioning and I would get in, little like, off Broadway shows. And, so I was doing the day job thing and the night job doing my art, so those first few years
They're
were
tough.
challenging for
Yeah.
me.
And you ended up doing some summer stock, and I have a couple of
Oh no.
photos that I want to share.
Okay.
This one in
Yeah.
particular.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Isn't that
so that's me on the
cute?
top there. I was Judas in that production of Godspell. I did 3 different productions of Godspell. So, like, I played Jesus
Wow.
in the first production, I was the guy, the clown who sang All Good Gifts the second time I did it.
Oh, yeah.
And this was kind of one of my favorites because I knew the show really well
Oh,
by
yeah,
this
at
point.
that point, and you could really and Judas is a juicy,
Oh,
acting
yeah, it
role,
was
of
great.
course.
It was
Yeah,
great. It was like I
and
graduated to Judas.
yeah, and then there's this lovely guy here.
Oh my god. Yeah. Will
That's
Parker in
Oklahoma,
Oklahoma.
you
Yeah.
know. I
Ye It was
I
like
would
that, and I actually had to kinda sorta dance, and that was scary. But they
well,
kinda made me look good. Yeah.
I swear that one of these seasons, Co-op has got to do Oklahoma. Some people will shoot me for that, but I just love that
Oh,
show
yeah.
so
Yeah.
much. Such a great show.
Yeah.
Maybe you could play Judas again,
Yeah.
or maybe you could direct again. Yeah.
Maybe I'll direct it, yeah.
So you ended up getting your equity card like a lot of people, how they get
Yeah.
their equity card, which was you did some children's theater. Is that right?
I did children's theater. I got my equity card the hardest way possible. I couldn't get my equity card. I was, like, auditioning and auditioning for TYA, Theater for Young Audiences, audience contracts, and one after another, and I'd almost get cast and almost get cast. All my friends were like doing 3 weeks children's theater, and they have their equity card. Finally, I got a job, signed a contract for 9 months at
Oh boy.
Stage One, the Louisville Children's Theater. So I had to live in Louisville, Kentucky, for 9 months and do children's theater there. And that's how I got my equity card. I was like, yeah, I felt like I was really paying my
You
dues.
did pay your dues. 9 months is a long time.
It was a
Yeah.
long time.
So
Yeah.
when you came back,
Mm.
Les Miserables, Les Mis, how was that? Was that pretty good? How'd you all say it when you were
Yeah, I mean, Sweeney Todd had been my favorite show, and then I saw Les Mis, and I was like, yeah,
So
it's like I
you saw it on Broadway. It was the big thing when you came back, right?
I saw it on Broadway, and even when I was in Louisville, this is embarrassing, but because it's gonna sound so arrogant, but it was just one of those like it felt more spiritual than arrogant.
Yeah.
Really, it was spiritual. Um, I heard everything about Les Mis. I listened to the cast recording over and over. I had my tickets to go see it, but I was still in Louisville last 2 weeks in May that year, and they're on the front cover of every magazine. And so I think it was Time magazine, and the whole cast is like one of those big, barricade moments on the cover of Time magazine. And I read the whole article, and I was with my friends in the green room one day, and I just pointed to the picture and I said, "I'm going to be in this."
Oh,
I just had this like,
you
I
had that
think
Holy
I'm
Spirit
gonna be in
moment.
this.
You just
Yeah,
knew.
and then I was done with children's theater, thank God. It's a wonderful thing. Do children's theater, yes. But, I'd done my 9 months and was back in New York, And my first EPA, Equity Principal audition, was for the national tour, the first national company of Les Mis.
Wow. How many
So
people at the call? How
oh,
many?
there's like 250. It was like, everyone wanted maybe 300. I don't know. It was just
Yeah.
like, it was like lines and lines and lines. And I
Yeah.
waited for hours. Yeah.
So you get in and you
So I
sing.
get in and everyone's coming in and out, 16 bars, 16 bars, So I'm like, I had my 16 bars, high flying adored from the Beatles. Like I had my 16 bars. I was ready. I go in, I sing my 16 bars. It turned out it was for Andy Zerman, who was the casting director with Johnson, Liff, and Zerman. And I'm ready to leave because in and out. I said, everyone, and it was like, what else do you have? And I was like, I wasn't prepared for something else. I hope my students aren't listening to that part. But I was, I was like, I've been doing children's theater for 9 months. I just got into town. So I said, well, I might be able to do high flying. I might be able to do The Only Home I Know from Shenandoah. And then I was just honest with him. I said, I've been out of town for 9 months. Working, but not doing musicals. And I don't know if I can remember it. And he said, you can stand behind the piano. He was so gracious. He was like, yeah, just stand behind the piano and read off I was like, okay. And I did, and he liked it. I
And
got
when
called back.
and you got called back. And
Yeah, he called,
how many
it's like,
times?
it's cool when you don't have an agent because then the casting office like calls you directly. Hi, this is Andy Zerman. We
You're
want you to come in tomorrow. I
like,
was like, okay. Yeah.
so you had
So yeah,
four callbacks
4
for the
callbacks.
first national tour.
Yeah. And I did great. I did great. I did great. And then the fourth and last callback, I just bombed. It was like I was way too nervous and I did not do well. I mean, I sang the songs, the material they asked me to bring in, and I did the songs. And John Caird was the director, and he was so gracious. He gets up from behind the table and he shakes my hand and has me do the song again, and it went better. And he's like, that was much better, but I didn't get it. And I wasn't surprised that I didn't get it because my nerves just went sky high.
So
Um,
what would your older self tell that younger man right now? What advice
do
would
anything you can to get centered beforehand.
ah
I was doing summer stock again up in Potsdam, New York, and I had to take 3 puddle jumpers, 3 small airplanes to get back to New York in time for this audition because I had 1 day off and my apartment was sublet. I couldn't even go home, it's like, but I work it out. Stay at a friend's, whatever you have to do to like meditate, get centered, go over your music. I wasn't centered. I wasn't grounded.
yeah,
And I walked in like,
yeah.
So anyways, that didn't go well.
But Andy Zerman
Yeah.
remembered you, and can you tell us how Les Mis came back to you?
So, yeah, he was so sweet, and I have a huge place in my heart for Andy Zerman because he became my advocate. He called me in for the Broadway production of Chess. I sang Pity the Child because I fell in love with that song from Chess. I didn't even know that I could sing that high, but I could. I could, you know why? Because I acted it. It's like, how novel. I acted it.
Right, you
Um,
acted as opposed to thinking, "I gotta hit a high C," or "I
yeah,
gotta
I
hit"
didn't think
yeah.
about singing the high notes. I was just like, there was a lot of anger involved, and I just channeled some anger that I had, and I hit the high notes. And I sang that for him for the audition for Chess, got called back. But at that audition, and this is a great thing if that ever happens to any of my students who might be listening, if it happens, it's a great thing. He said, you have to keep singing that song. That's a great song for you. And when you get that, you're like, thank you, because you don't
Yeah,
know what's landing or not landing. And it
yeah.
was landing. So a week later, he called. I'm cleaning apartments, by the way. That's what I was doing for my day job at that time, cleaning apartments, which actually was better than working 9 to 5 in an office.
I would enjoy
And
cleaning way more than being in an office. Yes, I can see
yeah,
that.
yeah, I could make my own hours.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like I liked the people I was working for. So, anyways, I'm cleaning an apartment when I got the call. Can you come in today at 4 o'clock? We need to replace one of the swings on the first national company of Les Mis that you didn't get. And now 5 weeks into rehearsal, they need to replace one of the swings. So they called me in, they called in 2 other guys, and he said on the phone, he said, "And sing Pity the Child." I went in, I sang Pity the Child, and like an hour later, I'm cleaning a toilet back at one of my clients' place, and I get the call. It's like, "Welcome to Les Mis." So
Oh,
it's, it's this. There's
how
all like
thrilling.
I feel like so much of my progress has been in fits and starts.
Yeah, yeah,
Looking back at the acting career,
sure.
so much in fits and starts, and I think one of the biggest things is just to hang in there. Persevere.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I didn't get it, and then 5
And
years
you
later,
did
I
get
get
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you ended up as a swing. Tell us how many roles you had to cover.
Yeah, it was Les Mis, so it's like it was the hardest job I ever had, and because I understudied 14 men in the ensemble, and it's Les Mis, so each of them is playing like 15 roles,
And that music is
and
so easy to learn. I'm sure it was not a big deal, right?
yeah, I mean, I had like a little cassette tape back then, a little cassette tape for each harmony, and a
Right.
little tiny like notebook, for each
Yeah.
of the 14 guys that I would have, in the dressing room. And I was like, because if I went on the last second, I was like, where's that notebook? And then where's the harmony? But I cried for the first 2 weeks in my hotel room in Boston. We moved to Boston right after I joined the show because we were opening in Boston. I thought, "There's no way I can do this. I'm a fraud." Wait till they find out. And then luckily, as a swing, you don't usually have to go on right away, and I didn't. I didn't have to go on for like 3 months. So by then, I felt more
You
confident,
got
and
it.
and then it turned into like the greatest job because I'm
Yeah,
going on. Once I was going on, I was going on all the time for like a different
sure.
role each time, and I kinda loved the variety of it,
Yeah,
you
I'm gonna
know?
show this
"Oh
picture.
my god, I love this."
That's in Boston?
That's in Boston, that's, outside the Schubert Theater, the whole cast was there. I'm way in the back. Um,
I see you. You're right
I
by her
love this
shoulder, right?
cast. It was so yeah, yeah. And there's
Yeah.
Bjorn Johnson, who is also in LA, by the way, and where's Rick Sparks? Rick Sparks is also here in LA.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
think Jennifer Nemo is local here, out here. I'm still in touch with a lot of these people.
That's wonderful. Well, it's
Yeah.
family, right? When you've been through that kind of thing. You were on tour for how long?
I did that for 2 years. I
2
mean,
years.
22 months. Yeah. And it was the Shishi tour. It was great because we played like Boston for 7 months, DC for 4 months, Philly for 5 months, and then
Yeah.
Chicago for 6 months.
And can you tell that very funny story uh, that you told me about a moment in the during the tour that that lives
Yeah,
on
you
in
asked me
infamy?
like, would you have a funny, happening or memory? Um, I mean, there were a few funny things that happened. I think the funniest thing that happened was it was a two-show day. I forgot what city we were in, but two-show day. We had already done the matinee. I'll go out for dinner, whatever, and then we come back and we're ready for the second show that night. And we're all, starting the show. I was on that night, and the convicts are doing the beginning of the show, and
Right.
this is the original production with the big turntable. The whole set revolves throughout. I thought it was brilliant. By the way, the direction of that show was brilliant, and we're doing and then after this is part of the prologue. The prologue is about 20 minutes long, and you have the convict scene, and then you have the little inn, and then what was it? The little inn. Oh, and then the farm. I think it's the farm, and
Oh,
then
with
the
the
little inn,
candlesticks and
and
that
then the
that
bishop scene with the famous bishop
okay.
scene where he steals the
Sure.
candlesticks, right?
Yeah.
So it's supposed to turn gently, going from
Yeah,
scene
because
to
it's
scene.
that yeah,
Yeah,
you're just
and we all
moving.
learned how to walk from stationary floor off stage to a moving platform, which took some practice, but we all were really good. We were like, it was so easy. This one day we finished, and something happened that I don't know if they forgot to do a preset or something. It was like they forgot to rewind the turntable or something. And it went, instead of going gently forwards, it went really fast backwards,
Oh
over
god.
and over and over. And we're just on the turntable, like, "Oh my god. Oh my god." And we were just freaking
Oh.
out. The orchestra's still playing, and people are still trying to sing no matter where they were. and like the farm was nowhere, and the little inn was all the way upstage, and it was crazy. It was a little dangerous, and it was hysterical. For us, it was hysterical.
Oh my gosh.
And finally, it landed with like the bishop scene all the way upstage, and people like moved the table downstage so they could get it set up. And that's when things kind of settled.
It's like playing jump rope, you know, when you're on the playground and you're like,
Yeah,
okay, can I get on
yeah,
this thing?
yeah. And during the whole time, the stage managers, because we didn't know, are they going to stop the show? And the stage managers and the wings going like, just keep going. Are you sure?
Oh my gosh, that's too
That was
funny.
that probably was the funniest thing that went wrong
Yeah.
one special night. Yeah.
So I know you end up after 22 months you come back to New York, and I know you did the first national tour of chess, which I do want to quickly show because your hair.
Oh god. Oh my god, I know. Don't I look
It's
like Tim Curry
You
there?
look amazing. I mean, not that you don't look amazing now.
It's a
Yeah, I
little it's
just
a bit much. The makeup's a bit
you
much,
do
yeah. But that
look
was my
kind of
hair.
like
I know it
Tim
looked a little
Curry.
big. That was my
You
hair, yeah.
you kind of look like a rock star. I guess that's what you're supposed to look
Oh,
like,
that was the
right?
rock musical, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but after chess, so you did that, I think, for 6 months. After chess, there
Yeah,
was this other teeny tiny little show that you were
yeah,
in. What was
yeah.
that called again?
I was Miss Saigon, yes. That was my first Broadway show, yeah.
Miss Saigon. That was your first Broadway show, and you
Yeah.
originated a role.
Role of Captain Schultz, yes. It was a I mean,
Wow.
I was an American GI. I was in the ensemble, and I had a nice little fee oh my god.
There you
Yeah, there was
are.
one time that I was kind of in shape. Yeah. It's because I was in a show where you had to be in shape,
You
and I
had to
was
wear that. Yeah.
we were always doing push-ups in the basement, before the show. It's like, before going out with, like, looking like that, yeah.
So
It
that
was a
must have
great show. It was like I look back at that show, and that was the real family experience, you
yeah.
know? I mean, some shows are like, it's a job, you're doing the job, and you're grateful for the job, it's an awesome job. But that was the real kind of family experience, and I was a little older than some of the ensemble guys because I was always a late bloomer. So I get my first show, like a lot of the guys are like 20, 22, right out of college. Like, and they found a lot of people to play the Vietnamese in the Philippines. And they were moving to America to do the show. And they're getting their
Wow.
equity card like at the age of, 18 and 19. And I think I was like 30. I think I was 30 by that point. So I was like just a little bit jaded at first. Like, I don't know about this whole family thing. And within like 3 months, I was like, I love this whole family thing. All the Filipino moms would like cook for us on 2 show
Wow.
days. And there was this
Wow.
huge spread in the basement. And
Wow.
my partner, who I met doing chess, was also in the show. And that was like this crazy miracle that we both got
To
in the show.
both get in the same show.
We
Yeah.
both got in the show.
Yeah.
He got in it because, oh, that's an awesome photo. I love doing this show.
Yeah.
It was so intense. The show was so intense.
And
And I actually
what
think
did he play?
he was one of the Vietnamese.
Okay.
Um, and then I was one of the American guys, so we're like fighting each other.
Yeah, fighting each other.
Um, yeah, so it was I mean, just to get personal for a moment, it was like the best of times. I won't say worst, but hardest of times because he, we're like on top of the world. We both get my first Broadway show, his second. We're working together. We're like romantic partners. We go through opening night parties and opening night experience. The show's a hit, Tony Awards, all that. And then about 9 months into the run, he got sick, and we found out that he had AIDS. And he was sick for a while. He got well enough to come back to the show. He was back in the show for a while, and then he got sick again, and he wasn't able to come back to the show. And I was doing the show and taking care of him for the last 11 months of his life. We were living together by then. And yeah, so I was like, whoa. It was like, sometimes life throws you really big curveballs,
Thank
and that
God you
was
had the family of that show. You
They
know,
were so supportive. It
our
was like
theater, yeah.
everyone
It,
was so supportive. It was
yeah,
like we had so much support in our lives, during
yeah.
that time. And I was still working, and I got to do the show, and yeah.
So
So
you were in the show for 2 years,
Mhm.
and I know you got to perform in the Tonys, and it was nominated for a Tony, but it
It didn't
didn't
win. Yeah, it
win.
didn't win. It was like
Yeah,
it ran for 10 years, but it did not win the
did
Tony.
not win.
Will
Yeah,
Rogers Follies won instead. Yeah.
yeah,
There was a kind of that was when there was a strong anti-Cameron McIntosh campaign.
yeah,
Because he had 4 long-running shows running on Broadway at the same time, taking up
sure.
space in all those beautiful theaters, and no other American producers could get into those theaters.
Yeah,
I That's kind of my opinion, but it's also in history books,
yeah,
so
yeah. So you're in the show, but there's another show that's going to come to you, and can you
yeah.
talk about how that
Yeah, I would love to
happened?
talk about it because, like, it was such an unexpected journey, and again, with lots of in fits and starts. So, I think it was about 8 months into the run of Miss Saigon, they announced that they wanted to find another understudy for the lead role of Chris internally. And so they said, any guy who wants to audition to understudy Chris can. So, like 8 of us sign up. And I was excited because I had already learned Why God Why, his big solo. And I learned it just because I love the song. I worked with my vocal coach on it as soon as I got to sheet music. I just adored the song. I never sang it for my auditions for Miss Saigon. They never asked me to, but I was like, I get to sing a song I love. And this is important. Like I tell my students, like work on what you love. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
And there I was like, oh, I love this song. I already have it. I know it. I had to learn another section of the show. They asked us to sing that and another section called the breakdown toward the end of the show that goes really high. So I do the audition. I felt good about it. It went well. And then Mitchell Lemsky, who I will always be indebted to, he took me aside later that night and he said, come here, I want to talk to you. And he said, that was an amazing audition. Uh, but I know that you're not what they're looking for the new Chris understudy. They want to go much younger. And I wasn't that. They wanted like 22, like 20, 21, 22. Um, he said, but he had been the production supervisor of Phantom before he became production
As
supervisor of
in
Miss Saigon.
Phantom of the
Phantom
Opera.
of the Opera, yes, man. So he said, but I think you should start working on the Phantom material. I was like, oh, okay. What role? And he said, well, the Phantom. And I was blown away. I was like, wow, okay. And he set up a work, I started working on the music. He set up a work session. I worked with them. So I go to the theater, the Majestic Theater, where Phantom of the Opera is, and I get to work with Kristen Blodgett, the musical supervisor, and
Wow.
Stephen was I forgot Steve McCorkle was, thank God I remembered his name, production supervisor. And I worked with both of them for like 45 minutes. And they called me back for a new national tour of it that was going out. And they were so kind. They came to me. They knew that my partner was sick at the time. And they said, would you be willing to tour? It would be ensemble. And I said, no, not not I mean, even if it were a lead role. I said, my partner's sick, as you know, and I need to stay here in New York. So that came and went. My partner got sick. I mean, sicker. My partner passed away. Oh no! Before that, I sent. He was homesick for a long time, and about I don't know 8 months later, I was like, I'm just gonna like drop my picture resume off at the stage door again, and I did. And they called me like the next day, and they said, actually, we're replacing one of the ensemble roles, one of the ensemble tracks on Broadway now. Why don't you come in for that? And I went in for that. Sorry, it's a long story, but I did get in the show. I got in the show. I sang all the Phantom material. I sang Monsieur Andre material. I sang some other ensemble stuff. I got in the show. Ensemble, understudy Monsieur Andre, no understudy for the Phantom. I was like,
At all.
I was told pretty clearly, Kristen, musical supervisor, doesn't think your voice is quite right for it. And you know what? I accepted it. I was like, that's fine. It's fine. It's a great show for me. There was more for me to do. I got to understudy another principal role. I moved into Phantom. A few months later, my partner passed away. I was like, I took a few weeks off from work, took care of that, and then thank God I had a show, you know? I
Yeah.
was like in my grief mode, but I had my show to do 8 times a week. And I liked what I got to do in that show. And it wasn't until, I mean, everyone told me, everyone who had lost someone said to me, you know, it'll take probably a year to get past the main part of the grief. And I was always aware of that during that year. And just to jump ahead, the year passed, the year mark passed. And just a few weeks later, they came to me again and said, we want you to sing the Phantom material again for us. I'd been in the show for over a year, ensemble. They liked what I was doing. And there's some other pieces to it, but I'll skip those for now. And they said, you know, no promises, but we want to hear you sing it again. I sang it again. I worked with my voice teacher really quickly, one session to like kind of fix the high note. And they loved it that time. Musical supervisor, everyone. They were like, okay, we want you to start understudying the Phantom. And it's just like, for me, it felt like this major spiritual experience. It
Oh
was like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I had to go through what I had to go through. And I was, you know what? The other thing that's important to share is that I was just before that came to me, I had a good talking to myself,
Yes.
and and that was about being grateful for what you have.
Yes.
And because we would
Yes.
go to understudy rehearsals for the role I was understudying, Monsieur Andre, every Thursday. We were doing 8 shows a week. I'm ensemble. It's not like that demanding, but we were I'll speak for myself. I was always cranky about it and irritable about, "Why do I have to come to an understudy rehearsal? I've been on 40 times for this role. Why do I?" And I just finally had to talk to myself, and it was like, "So many people are jealous of you that you're in a Broadway show, a hit
Yeah.
Broadway show. How dare you
Yeah. Yeah.
be
Well,
cranky about anything you have to do for this show?"
human
And I
nature though,
finally went
right?
with gratitude. I am happy to be here. I'm happy to be at an understudy rehearsal and help other people who might be new understudies. And that was the understudy rehearsal where she came to me and said, I want you to sing the Phantom material again. I don't believe that would have happened if I went with my older self, you know, my
Yes.
older
Yeah. Yeah.
cranky, like, why do I have to be here? You
So
know?
you eventually sing and you become.
Yeah. So I went on 6 months later. I mean, and the rehearsal period for that was amazing for me. The wind was at my back. I felt like my partner gave that to me as a gift. It all was an amazing creative time for me. I finally felt like I had a role to like where I could really cut my teeth on it. And
Yeah.
I had all these tools that I'd learned and all these acting classes to apply to it. I went on, they loved it. They put me on 2 more times, hoping that Hal Prince could see me. He wasn't able to make it. He sent his assistant, Ruthie Mitchell. She saw it, gave a thumbs up. And one day in the theater, I get called down to the stage manager's office before a matinee, and I thought I was in trouble. It's like, tell them later,
Yeah. You
please
don't.
come
You
to the
don't.
stage manager's office.
Yeah. You don't want to
And I
hear
walk,
that, right?
you know, and I come running down 5 flights, and I go in the stage manager's office. The show's about to start. I'm half dressed, and Hal Prince is in the stage manager's office, and he says, you know, close the door, and it's like it was so classy. He
Yeah.
was the classiest man, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
he said, "I'm so sorry I didn't get to see you do the role, but I heard you were awesome, and I'd like you to take over the role on the tour." And he wanted to tell me personally, you
Personally,
know,
wow.
and I
And
was like, "Yes."
just to interject for everybody, I know most people, probably everyone knows, but some of us call him Harold. Those of us that know him personally call him
Harold
Hal.
Prince, yes, the man with
He
21
has,
Tony Awards,
yeah,
yes.
21 Tony Awards and, 8 for directing, 8 for producing, 2 as best producer of a musical,
Good
and
for
2
you,
special
yeah.
awards. So
You did your research.
he's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I have his book. So
he's a
yeah,
legend,
he's a
yeah.
legend. Yeah. And so
So,
you're
yeah,
on
so
the.
I go on the road, and I did the role on the road for 15 months, and it was a dream come true. It was like that was, like, one of the happiest times of my life.
Now you got to go to your hometown
I
and
did, yeah.
play the Phantom, and I just have to read something.
Oh, no.
The Hartford Courant
All
Your
right.
hometown. You're back there as the big old star.
Mm,
They said Thomas James O'Leary took the character beyond one-dimensional comic book status and invested it with real passion, real poignancy. Other papers called your performance transcendent, extraordinary, outstanding, hard to imagine a
okay. All right.
performance
All right.
of the role more perfect or inspiring.
Oh my
That's
God.
that's that makes me
Thank
cry, and
you,
it's
sweetie.
not even about me.
It was a good time. It was a good time. I mean, I felt like it was just like I was in a good space. I loved the Christines that I got to work with, because
Yes,
my performance
yes.
changed a little bit depending on who my Christine was. But they were all good actors. And we worked off each other and this thing grew during my time
Yeah.
doing that tour.
So
Yeah.
you end up how many performances total? When did you actually end up on Broadway?
So, Davis Gaines was going to do another project with Hal, actually, and Hal, again, classy man, he's, like, sending me letters. He would write letters and send them like
Letters, remember
snail
those?
mail,
Those
and
were
then I
so
would write
nice.
back. It's
Yeah.
like and he sent me a letter saying, like, you know, "We should have some good news for you soon,"
Oh,
and
wow.
then I got the offer to come back to Broadway to replace Davis, and, yeah, I was thrilled. It was like, "Okay, yeah, I get to come back, work with my old friends and do it on Broadway and live at home," you know? "Oh, there
Yeah.
he
There
is,
you
yeah."
are. I love that. Here's the one that I call the creepy one.
I call this the creepy one too, 'cause it was one of those press shots, and they got me, I got in costume and everything and makeup, and Peter von Meyerhauser, a man who I adore and who was also my advocate, he was the production supervisor at that point, and I remember he kept saying, "Look farther to the right, look farther to the right." I'm like, "I don't think my
Okay.
eyes go any further to
Do
the
you
right." Is that
do
right?
you
Yeah, I think
still have the mask?
I have a mask, yes.
Okay.
I
How
do.
many did you have total? Do you remember during the whole time you were doing the
Oh, I don't many,
did
many masks.
did you go through like a mask a week?
No, no, not that many, not that
Oh,
many.
okay. Okay.
No, but there would always be 2 or 3, and that's Sandra Joseph in the middle, which is one of my favorite Christines. She was this was the 10th anniversary celebration. So that's Cameron McIntosh,
I've
the
heard of them.
producer
Yeah.
extraordinaire, and that's Sandra, one of my favorite Christines, the last one I got to work with on Broadway.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
wonderful. That's wonderful.
yeah.
So tell us what's one of the funniest stories from Phantom that you can share with us? Or one of the
Well,
most bizarre things, whatever floats your
yeah,
boat.
yeah. Some people might already know this because it's like, I've told you this story, I know. Um, so we were on the road, Norfolk, Virginia, and there is a big moment. I mean, like the end of the show, toward the end of the show, there's this like big raging scene where I'm raging around the stage. Christine is there, and Raul is hanging from this noose, like a magic noose. And I finally agreed to release him. She's like pleading for me to release Raul, and I finally release him. So I grab a candle from the organ filled with all these candles, and it's a trick candle. And I take it, and I'm supposed to swipe it right where the noose is hanging. And there's a little button on the trick candle that when I press it, it shoots out a spark. All right. So I did what I always did, and released him, and the spark came out, and I put the candle back. And it's nonstop music, of course. Phantom is practically sung through, and I go on with the rest of this scene, another good 10 minutes of the show. And so I'm still ranting and raving to music. And as I'm doing the scene, um, I something felt a little funny on my head. And now by this point, the mask is off. I'm unmasked, and the slick hair is gone. That's a wig even within the show. It's a wig that the Phantom has put on. And now he has this like crazy hair. It's called the alopecia wig with all these like strands of hair sticking out and the prosthetics on my face. So I'm ranting and raving to music, and I feel something funny on my head, and I'm ignoring it because the show must go on. I'm doing what it just felt a little funny. And then I feel this tugging, this little bit of tugging, like right in the middle of my scalp. And it just made my hand automatically, like animal instinct, as I'm singing and ranting and raving, go up to my head. And I felt fire. I felt flames. Yeah. And without skipping a beat, still to this day don't know how I did this. Without skipping a beat, I mean, what am I going to do? Running off stage. So I guess I should have, but I didn't. I stayed on stage and I kept singing. And because he's having this like mental breakdown and I'm ranting and raving, I just went like this to my head
To
as
make
I'm
like
ranting
in
and
the
raving.
scene. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
didn't skip a beat and I put the fire out on my own head. And afterwards, I heard that by the time, so what happened clearly is the spark landed on my head.
Right. And
There
that's
was petroleum jelly that was used on that they put on the alopecia wig to make it look even more wiry, which
right.
is
Right.
flammable. And my head went up in flames. By the time I knew I felt fire and put the fire out, I had a crown of 4-inch high
Oh my
flames on
gosh.
my head. Thank God for the bald cap and that I sweat under the bald cap.
So
That's
it
what saved
stopped it
me.
from
And
getting
that's what I
all
felt.
the
I felt
way.
it melting and starting
Oof.
to tug. And by the time I put the fire out, by the way, there were stagehands in the wings with fire
Ready to go.
ready to go, ready to run out.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that probably would have been worse. So thank God I put it out by myself.
Yes. Yeah, that would have been said. And
And I want to add one thing more. I always had trouble. That was like 2 months into the run. I always had trouble holding the long note at the end as long as I was really supposed to. And that night I held it all the
I
I was
bet
like,
you
the
did.
adrenaline was like this. And I was always able to hold it after that too. It was like, it taught me that, oh yeah, you can do that. You
Yeah.
just have to have your head on fire to
You
get
just
there.
need a little fire.
You
That's
need a
what you
little
need,
kick. Yeah.
baby. Total number of performances?
So about 1,000. Yeah, I did 15 months on the road and then almost 2.5 more years on
Yeah.
Broadway.
Yeah. Now, I I want to talk more about that, but let me just jump to you leave Phantom
Yes.
because because why? Why
I
did you
was
leave Phantom?
exhausted. I was exhausted. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd been in the show for 6 months. I'm not saying I wasn't grateful. Again, I knew gratitude by then. I knew how to be grateful. I was so grateful, but my body was exhausted. I
Yes.
loved doing that role, but
Sure.
my body kept saying, "What are you doing? Leave me alone."
Yeah,
It
because
was like,
you're acting, you're going through what the Phantom
I mean,
goes
you're
through
having
every
mental
night.
breakdown, emotional breakdown for the last 20 minutes of the show, in addition to everything else,
Sure.
every night, 8 times a week. Your body doesn't know that you're acting. It was
Yeah.
like, and it
Yeah.
was 3.5 years pretty much nonstop. So what they did, and they were so generous, Hal had seen me several times by that point and had coached me and directed me, and it was just such a joy to work with him. And after the 10th anniversary performance, he gave me so many compliments. Finally, he was like, "I love this," and he was saying to Peter that he wanted me to do it forever. And so what Peter von Meyerhauser worked out, it's like he said, "We want you to do it through the 11th anniversary, and then we're going to give you a 9-month leave of absence so you can rest." It sounded ideal. I don't know if it was psychological, if it was my body or what. And I loved doing it, all the way through the 11th anniversary. And after I left the show, it was like the next day, I was like,
I'm done.
I don't think I can go back,
Yeah. Isn't
you
that
know?
interesting?
Like,
It's like your brain kind of just says, okay, door shut.
I think I'm good, you
Yeah.
know? Sometimes I regret that I didn't find a way, because they welcomed me back, but I was
Yeah.
like, I don't think I can, you
Yeah.
know? It was a
Yeah.
hard role. It was
Yeah.
demanding. It was so
Yeah.
fulfilling, but it was demanding. Yeah.
Well, you went on to do some amazing things, and I'm going to very briefly just show a few. First of all, this from Yale Repertory,
Yeah, yeah.
which
So You
was
Never
"You
Can
Never Can
Tell.
Tell," little George Bernard Shaw.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh god.
my favorite playwright, Lee Blessing, Two
Be
Rooms.
Blessing, 2 Rooms, yeah.
Yeah, and then
Playing
I
a
know
hostage.
you came out to Los Angeles. You made that transition,
Yeah, then I thought, I
and
was doing a little bit of TV and film, and I thought, why don't I come out to LA? And then I discovered theater in LA. Yeah.
you did Take Me Out at the Celebration,
Hmm.
and you did Travels with My Aunt at the Colony.
Yeah, travels with my aunt at the Colony in Burbank. Yeah, I got to work with so many cool people. I,
And
I love doing theater in LA.
yeah, and you eventually returned
Then I
to,
decided I want to direct. Yeah.
right. Everybody
When I was
wants
at
to
the
direct.
conservatory, sorry, go ahead.
I said everybody wants to direct, right?
Yeah, right. But I wasn't really sure. But when I was at the conservatory many years ago, Larry Eric, because I directed a lot there. That's where I kind of learned to direct, or I just got a lot of practice with it. And Larry Eric said when I graduated, he said, "You have to keep directing." Of course, I took that as a challenge to me as an actor. It's like, are you saying you don't think I can make it as an actor? You know?
Oh,
God.
of
So, I mean,
course.
it's fine. It all worked out,
Yeah.
So I focused on acting for like 30 years. And then it was funny. I just got to a certain place where it's like, I think I always heard his voice here saying, you have to direct. And I was
Mhm.
like, I think I've finally done enough of the other stuff as an actor that I think I want
Yeah.
to try my hand at directing. And at first, I just directed anything I get my hands on, readings and workshops and lots of free work, you know.
Right, right. And I know you've directed a lot at AMDA.
Yeah, where I teach.
I love this
Mm,
from Sunday in the Park. Stunning.
yeah, Sunday in the Park. I
Um,
love this show. I would
and then
direct Sunday in the Park forever.
whenever, wherever.
Just
Yeah,
like, yeah,
it's a
my
beautiful show.
11th production of Sunday in the Park, but I don't care.
There was this one show that you did.
Mhm.
That's
Well,
33 Variations.
yeah. I mean,
And
this all felt like God,
yeah.
it's getting to work I wanted to work with you guys at Actors Co-op for a long time, or for like, a couple years. And, I finally had my interview. And I remember they said, one of the options is 33 variations. And I was like, oh my God, I love the show so much. And then, the production committee said, yeah, you can do 33 variations. And it was just like, I say God because, it's one of those times that I loved the cast, you
Mhm,
starring in it.
mhm.
The cast was amazing. And I loved all the designers. It was like, it's just everything kind of came together that
Yeah,
happens every once in a while. And it was just like, the wind is at your back again.
yeah. It was a beautiful
And it,
collaboration
beautiful collaboration.
that ended pretty sweetly with this, which is you winning the Ovation Award for Best
Crazy.
Director.
Crazy,
Um,
isn't it?
I do want to
Yeah.
show this show as well because I just think it's such a wonderful shot from AMDA as well. Carrie,
Oh my
yeah,
god, yes. Yes,
what
we
a
got those
moment.
sparkler fire things, yeah.
Luckily, her hair didn't catch on fire,
We
right?
did it quite a bit. Yeah.
Um, I know we have questions. I know we have some folks that want to ask us some questions. So let me just go to the phones, as they say.
Yes, yes.
Uh, so Destiny McKinney says, "What is your all-time favorite show that you haven't been a part of yet?"
Oh, hi, Destiny. Extra credit tomorrow. Um, well, my favorite show that I haven't been a part of is Hamilton, I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
you know, first it was Sweeney Todd, then it was Les Mis, and now it's Hamilton. It really is like my number one. And
yeah,
I don't need to be a part of it. It would be nice, but it's like I'm just happy to like I've seen it 4 times. I'll continue seeing it, and
yeah,
I maybe someday I'll direct it, but I'm okay.
and it's
Just
back.
like knowing it's out there.
Yeah,
Thank you for the
yeah.
question, Destiny.
Cassidy Huff says, "What's your favorite part of teaching?"
My favorite part of teaching, seeing when people hi Cass, love Cass. You can get extra credit tomorrow too. Just seeing when people have breakthroughs,
Mm,
every once in a while
yeah,
you see the breakthrough happen and it's like, ah yes, I want to teach forever,
yeah,
with
yeah,
those moments to see someone have those breakthroughs. Even if
yeah, yeah.
I'm not like the one who made it happen. It just happens to be in front of me. It's like,
Yeah,
ah, it's
that's a
so inspiring to see
it
young
is.
actors have breakthroughs, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and doesn't it don't you feel like it helps you too to realize we continually can have breakthroughs our whole life, that it can continue
Absolutely.
to happen?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Dalton Weaver asks, "Who is the most influential teacher in your career, and what is something they taught you?" Great question. Thank you, Dalton.
Good question, Dalton. Thank you, Dalton. Influential teacher and what have they taught me? Um, it's between Larry Eric and Suzanne Shepard. And I'm going to say Suzanne Shepard, who taught the Meisner technique and really taught me how to listen,
Hmm.
which is something I try to do as much as I can, although it's not officially the Meisner technique that I teach, but I try to use a lot of what Suzanne taught me. But I mean, I love so many of my teachers, Harold Guskin and Bob Krakauer, who I worked with for a short time, but was awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and Tim Phillips, I worked with for many years. Tim Phillips, I would also say, taught me about Sherlock Holmesing, how to read a script over and over, looking for all the clues. Because I used
Yes.
to like look at a script and just go, "Oh, I know what that is," and I jump to
My line, my
conclusions.
line, my line, my line. Your line,
Yeah,
my
right.
line, my line.
I
Yeah.
know, yeah, and I'd make assumptions and jump, and then he taught me like how to really, really read it and break it down and look for clues and read it over and over until you have all these aha moments and go, "Oh, that's what that is."
Yeah.
So I'd
Yeah.
say those two things were inspiring to me: listening and Sherlock Holmesing a script. Yeah,
Rob Martin asks, "Are you still planning to direct Marvin's Room?"
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, hi, Rob. We got all the way up to final dress rehearsal before we had to shut down for COVID, which remember back then we were like, so we're going to stop for
It's
two
going to
weeks
be a couple weeks.
and then we'll come back. And yeah. And so, yeah, I mean,
And
I
here
don't
we
want to
are.
ruin any announcement that AMDA wants to make. So I will not
You mean
say
Actress
anything.
Co-op? Yes.
No,
Yes.
that actress co-op. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Sorry. My two A's. And
They're
you're
two
actually two
A's.
blocks from each other. So
Yeah, yeah. We're very close. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm very, I plan to be a part of it. Yes, for sure.
Yes.
It's an amazing cast. Again, designers, one of my favorite plays. I'm so looking forward to it.
Um, I have just a couple more. Let's see. From Destiny, what personal lesson from your own experience do you incorporate into your teaching? And greetings from Liv Bellinger Verbix.
Hi, Liv. Um, so can you read that question again?
Sure. What personal lesson from your own experience do you incorporate into your teaching? Maybe
Um,
something from your life as
there's a lot that think that I think I incorporate a lot from my personal life, my personal experience in my teaching. A lot of it is from the different teachers I've had who influenced me. But if you're just talking about a personal experience, I think I want to say leaving yourself alone.
mhm,
Trusting yourself. It's just not. It's not worth it to go through an acting career if you're worried all the time or you're trying to
stressed.
control the experience. It's like, so there has to be, you know as I get older, it's like I look back and it's like, God, I wish I wasn't worried so much when I was younger. I wish
Yeah,
I had just like trusted myself more and let go,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and just be in the moment. So thanks
So
for that
so
question.
true. Riley Blevins asks, "Do you recommend going and getting your master's degree?"
It depends what you wanna do. I mean, I even considered it when I wanted to start directing, 10 years ago, and my therapist has, like, 3 PhDs, so it's like, "You should get your master's," is all about degrees. I was like, "I'm 55." It's like, "I don't think so. By the time I get out, it's like, no master's program will take me at my age." And I realized, like, I could learn just as much by doing it in that case as a director. But if you wanna teach at certain universities or you wanna do more, especially as a teacher at a place like Carnegie Mellon or Juilliard or somewhere like that. It could really help you to get a master's. And when you're young and Riley, I know you're still young, it's like, yeah, it could be great depending what you want to do.
Mhm.
As long as it's a great program, as long as it's a great program, and you're just a couple years older now, so it's like, well, I can, what to pay attention to more. You'll appreciate it even more, So I don't think you have to make it in this business as an actor or director, but it could help if it's a really good program and
Yeah.
you're even more like, I know you're already a good student, Riley. So, you'd be great in any of those programs, but you don't have to.
Um, there's one last question that I'm not going to make you answer. What was it like directing Nan McNamara in 33 Variations? That's from James Myers. So we're going to
Yes.
leave that alone. And I,
Nan she is a joy to work with. It's a
oh,
great
yes.
question. I'm glad you asked, James. Um,
Oh,
Nan, you are a joy to work with.
well, thank
The
you.
whole cast was, but yeah,
It
since he
was.
asked about you, yeah, you were a joy. Thank you so
L-
much.
Let me end the evening. And first of all, I just want to say, Tom, thank you so much for being so generous with your
Thank
time and
you.
your heart and sharing these stories and your personal parts of yourself that we just can all learn from our sharing with each other. So
Mhm,
I'm really
mhm,
grateful for that. And
mhm.
but I do have to end with our dear friend James Lipton's last
Oh,
bit
good.
of questions.
Uh-oh.
So we'll just reel these off really quickly.
Okay.
What is your favorite word?
My favorite word. Um, um, it just popped into my head. I've never thought about it before. Intuition.
Oh, that's good. What is your least favorite word?
Oh, can't.
Mm. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Um, Seeing brilliant theater. I
What
mean,
turns
really,
what turns
yeah.
you off?
Um, uh, Hate crimes.
What sound or noise do you love?
Hmm. Um, well, there's a lot of music that I love, but I'll add to that like the waves at the ocean,
Yeah, yeah. What sound or noise do you hate?
the helicopters that go over our apartment all the time.
Yes. You were right there on that one. You were
Yeah,
like,
that
"Yeah, I
was
know
quick.
that one."
I didn't have to think about that.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Hmm. Well, I've done acting, teaching, directing. I don't know. It's like, you know what I've never
What about
done?
the weatherman?
The weatherman, yeah. When I was younger, you remember this. When I was younger in high school, I was really good at geography. And this is before I knew anything about me wanting to be an actor. And I was like, what do I do with geography? And I thought, I know, I'll be a weatherman. And he points to the map that he can't really see. No, that's not it.
Oh.
You know, as I get older, like when I'm retired and, don't have the wherewithal, um, I've never written. I have never done. I do not consider myself a writer, which probably means I should try it when
Why
there's no
not?
stakes. When I'm retired and there's no stakes,
Yeah,
maybe I
yeah,
should try writing. I mean, like a play.
yeah. What profession would you not like to do?
Oh
We
God.
we know you don't wanna work in an office.
Yeah, you know that. Mm, Golly, I don't think I would want to be a lawyer. I I think I don't know. It's just I don't know if that I'm too judgmental about that. I mean, sometimes we need lawyers, and there's
Yes.
great lawyers, but maybe I should specify what kind of lawyer. I don't know. I just one that comes to my mind.
What would you
Sorry for
like
any lawyers who might be listening. That's just me.
our last one is, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh Lord. Um, James Lipton. Well, I guess, just I mean, if I this is gonna sound arrogant, but thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Like you did good.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Like,
good. That's good.
yeah, yeah.
Thomas James O'Leary, Thank you so much.
Nan, thank you so
It
much.
was such a
Oh my
pleasure.
God, I just
Thank
blabbed. Blah, 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 blah.
that's what the point was.
I
And
know, but whatever.
I want to thank all the people that asked questions, all of you guys that are out there watching. I also want to give special thanks to Townsend Coleman, Susanna Vaughn, and Lindsay Schnebley. Thank you so much for joining us. We are looking forward to seeing you very, very soon. And look for some more information about what's happening at Actors Co-op soon, live. Okay, have a good evening. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the question. Thank you so much, Nan.
Bye, Tom. Thank